Good afternoon, members. If we're ready to begin. So the first item of business on the agenda tonight is the election of the chair. Can I please have nominations for the election of the chair? Councillor Laws.
Yeah, please can I nominate Councillor Hampton.
Councillor Hampton, seconded.
Yes, I'd like to second.
Councillor Platter, seconded. Are there any other nominations? Councillor Herkner.
I'd like to nominate Councillor Stuteley.
Councillor Stuteley, is that seconded? Councillor Champion seconds. So could I please have those votes in favour of Councillor Hampton? 1, 2, 3. That's 3. Those in favour of Councillor Stuteley? 1, 2, 3, 4. Councillor Stuteley is duly elected as chair of this panel. Sorry, Councillor Stuteley, would you mind moving up to the
Okay, thank you. Okay, so welcome. We've got some housekeeping. So good afternoon. Welcome to this meeting of Sustainable Development Panel. I'm So I'm fine. Thank you. I had problems. Okay, thank you. The meeting is the meeting being live streamed? Okay, the meeting is being live streamed on the council's YouTube channel. Members of the committee may use electronic devices to access their meeting papers, and visitors are welcome to use the mobile phones and other devices, including cameras, but please use them discreetly, set them to silent, and do not use voice or camera flash functions. Members of the committee and officers will introduce themselves, starting from my left, going around the room.
Councillor Emma Hampton, University Ward.
Councillor Judith Lubbock, Eden Ward.
Councillor Richard Laws, Bothorpe Ward.
Councillor Gurpreet Padder, Lakenham.
Councillor Gary Champion, the Sewell Ward.
Councillor Hannah Höchner, Nelson Ward.
Councillor Adam Giles, and I'm here as the Cabinet Member for Planning and Regulatory Service, not as a voting member of the committee.
I'm Mike Burrell. I'm the Planning Policy Team Leader.
Robert Carmichael, Democratic Services Manager.
Alexandra Cosme, Senior Committee Officer.
Thank you. So apologies next, and have we any apologies, please? Declarations of interest.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to declare an interest in item 6, particularly as a provider of student accommodation, my wife and myself. I will remove myself from the meeting for that item. Just to add, there is a small section on student accommodation in item 7, but I don't think it's significant enough to warrant my not attending that debate and indeed voting if there is a vote. But I won't comment on anything to do with student housing.
Okay,
so that's okay.
So that
yeah,
second item
has been.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Padder.
Thanks. I'd like to declare an interest in the item 7. I sit on the Broads Authority and I work for the government regulator Marine Management Organisation, which is linked to some of the planning documents cited under that item. Thanks.
Okay. The last meeting, I wasn't in attendance, so I'll ask for any items on that. Councillor Hockner.
Sorry, just one last interest to declare on item 6. I'm employed by the University of East Anglia, but I participated in conversation about this paper before, so I don't think it's a proper configuration.
Okay, beg your pardon, I didn't. Okay.
That's absolutely fine. From our perspective, that would be a non-registrable interest, as it's not linked directly to your financial or other interests on that part.
So thank you. So we move on. One could. Okay, so next item on the agenda. I just don't know what to do with these mics. I press the button, it goes green. Yeah, yeah. Well, I've already swapped once. That's true. Yes. Okay, thank you. It starts working and then starts flashing red at me, so I'll keep an eye out for it. Thank you. Okay, so I believe it is election of vice chair next. Okay, any nominations, please? Councillor Champion, I saw your hand first.
Could I nominate Emma Hampton, please?
Okay, any seconders? Councillor Laws, okay, thank you. And no other nominations, so I guess we vote on that and that's carried.
Did you go to the vote there, Chair? Sorry, was it?
Do we have to have a formal vote on that? Okay, let's have a formal vote on that. And that's carried unanimously, thank you. Okay, so item number 6 then, please. It's the purpose-built student accommodation supplementary planning document. That's to be introduced by Mike. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Chair. The draft. The panel considered the draft PBSA supplementary planning document on the 25th of February this year, and authorisation to consult was then granted by Cabinet and First Council and Full Council. The draft SPD sets out that the evidence base demonstrates there is currently no need for further purpose-built student accommodation, call it PBSA from now on, but does acknowledge that the situation could change over time. Therefore, the supplementary plan document allows for needs assessments to be submitted with applications. The SPD also sets out what factors the council will take into account when determining applications for PBSA, includes a section on how affordable housing contributions will be calculated. A 5-week consultation period took place from the 2nd of April to the end of May this year. The consultation statement in Appendix 2 of the report sets out consultation methods, the responses to the consultation, and any changes that were made to the SPD. And I'll mention a few of these shortly, but first of all, Naya is going to talk to you about the Get Talking Norwich survey. So part of the consultation was something that's done online through Get Talking Norwich, which we've started using fairly recently. So Naya, could you please talk about that?
As mentioned by Mike, as part of the preparation of the SPD for purpose-built student accommodation, a public consultation was undertaken, and this was hosted on Get Talking Norwich, which is an online website that the council uses for consultations public. The consultation on purpose-built student accommodation is the second consultation that the planning policy team have hosted on the Get Talking website, and this was very successful. The consultation itself went on for 5 weeks, and we had 276 people who visited at least one page of the consultation web pages, and we also received 66 people participated in the consultation. in terms of responses that we received, it's in Appendix 2, so that's from page 107.
Okay, is everybody caught up with that? Yeah, please go ahead.
So we received 66 responses to the consultation, and the majority of the responses were generally positive and supportive of the SPD, and they were in agreement that there is already oversupply of PBSA in Norwich. Over 80% of the respondents strongly agreed that the existing and pipeline for supply for PBSA accommodation is enough to meet the needs of the city. Looking at some of the comments that were submitted by members of the public, there is a shared feeling that purpose-built student accommodation is unaffordable for many students, and that student accommodation can reduce housing provision for families in the local area. Also, we noted that in the responses, it was raised that PBSA developments are poorly integrated into the city's architectural and social fabric. However, majority of the response felt that the PBSA SPD provided a good level of information and detail. However, there were a few comments which mentioned that they felt that the SPD did not provide enough detailed information on community impact and long-term adaptability of the PBSA accommodation. So that's just a brief overview of some of the information that came out of the consultation. There is more details in Appendix 2. Thank you.
Thank you, Noah. So I'll now continue talking about some of the consultation comments from stakeholder bodies. Historic England, Norfolk Police, the Broads Authority and the Business Improvement District broadly welcomed the SPD. Each had a few suggestions for changes, which were taken on board. In particular, the police made quite a few suggestions on security considerations, which are useful and they have been incorporated in the SPD. Now, going to developers. As expected, the responses on behalf of developers who are currently promoting schemes or current operators of PBSA challenged the method for calculating needs and felt that there is an undersupply of PBSA, not an oversupply. However, no changes are made to the document as a result of these comments, as we're confident with our evidence base. If you remember, that evidence base was produced by independent consultants. We also had a significant engagement from both of the universities in the city. They were very supportive of the supplementary planning document, and we have had ongoing engagement with both the UEA and Norwich University of the Arts. The following key changes have been made to the SPD as a result of comments they made and subsequent meetings where we discussed them. First, most importantly, we've acknowledged the risks associated with using past trends to predict future growth in the universities. Student numbers may not grow at the predicted rates, so we are in unpredictable times for universities, and we have to take account of the fact that there will be changes, and so we can't rely entirely on the evidence we have. We have to be flexible and take more up-to-date evidence when it's available. Secondly, we've referred to the need for more low-priced rooms. We had lots of responses saying that student accommodation expensive, so we've included looking at including twin rooms or rooms with shared bathrooms, which tend to be cheaper. And thirdly, we'll require applicants to have meaningful engagement with the universities before submitting planning applications. The City Council will consult the universities on all PBSA planning applications so the universities can validate the outcome of engagement. There was a view from the universities that some of the engagement that has taken place previously has been rather limited. So we've included something about meaningful engagement. Now, the next steps for this will be for it to go to Cabinet on the 10th of September and to full council on the 30th of September for adoption. Please, any questions, please?
Okay, thank you. So do you have any questions either on the document, the report, or the feedback on the consultation? Anyone indicating? Councillor Lovett, please.
Really a bit of clarification, although the sentence begins clarifying. It's on the bottom of page 9, and it's the responses on behalf of the developers. However, several changes have been made to the document to take account of other comments received, which include clarifying that the SPD is not seeking PBSA to be rented at below the market value, as off-site affordable housing contribution would be sought instead. I didn't understand that, but I didn't read it very well. But can you just tell me what you're getting at there?
The view from the consultation was that we would be promoting PBSA that was so cheap that people wouldn't be able to make a profit out of it. So we needed to clarify that that was not the case. They'd still make a profit, but we'll be seeking to provide low cost PBSA as well as many of the products which are slightly higher cost.
In a range of, yes, a range. Yeah. Am I right in thinking in section 10, we say there is this affordable housing contribution to be made? Is this the first opportunity we've had to get affordable housing from PBSA?
It came in through the local plan last year.
Last year, yeah.
Yes, in March 2024. Yeah. But this clarifies how it will be achieved.
So it's new to. It's new. Right. Got that. Thank you. And the only other point was the definition of a studio at over the page, small 3. Yes. What is the definition of a studio? Oh, it's under 2. Sorry. In conjunction with a range of other types of sharing accommodation, and where the need for studios is demonstrated. How are studios different from other rooms?
As well as their own bathroom, entailed all within one room.
Essentially, that means they're fully contained, doesn't it? And they're not shared with other students.
Say again.
But they're fully contained and not shared with other students. So a single or couple may reside in a studio rather than sharing a flat. Have I understood that correctly? Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from members, please? Okay. Yeah. Councillor Hockner, please.
Thank you. It's also a question for clarification. On page 10 at the very top, the draft SPD would only allow studios to be permitted where there are nomination rights from an institution. I wasn't clear what nomination rights are.
So where the UEA or the University of the Arts have agreed that that's appropriate. Yeah.
So as a result of the consultation, it's been changed. So studio flats will be permitted where there isn't nomination rights, but only where they demonstrate there's need and where it's provided in conjunction with a range of other types of accommodation.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or follow-ups? Yeah, Councillor Champion, please.
Sorry, it might be if you
I'm afraid I'll have to take that away and go to the author. Sorry.
Just for my benefit, perhaps, and others, can you just clarify that question again, please?
Sorry, my mic wasn't. I was just asking, how do we clarify need if that isn't via the academic institutions informing us of the student numbers requiring accommodation, if that follows?
Okay. Would I be right in assuming that that need is established by the consultee that has delivered the figures for us? So the need is spread out. There's a number of tables in this report that show the need over the coming years, and it's a challenge to that, isn't it? That the new applicants will need to put forward.
The question was specifically in relation to studio flats, wasn't it, where there aren't nominations?
Okay, right.
Yeah. Yeah, I do apologise. I'll have to take that back to the author and check. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to be here today. So.
Right. So that's an action point. Any other questions? I've got a couple if anyone else wants to take a couple of moments. So the document itself about the I found myself nodding along with as I was reading it because of requirements for future applications. I think the data appears to be quite sound, and from what we hear as councillors about the university, and perhaps Hannah could confirm, numbers are potentially not going to rise the way that they had predicted previously. So section 5 has some new policy guidance on location, scale, design, amenity, environment and sustainability, and student welfare, which is all vital. But there are a number of applications comprising many hundreds of new bed spaces that are yet to come to committee. So I'm wondering how the committee assesses those in the light of this document, that it's not going to come before September, and we may see applications before September, and how the public can be assured that those applications will not be substandard, because the current guidance is out of date.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Chair. It's very important question at the moment. So we have a policy that was adopted last year. We have emerging guidance which can be referred to. Clearly, it won't be adopted by the time these applications come in. But most importantly, we do have the evidence. We have the evidence MACOM, and so that can be referred to. That is already available.
The evidence that's been supplied for this report can be used as part of planning applications and material considerations. Okay,
it's being consulted on. It's in the public domain.
Okay, I think that in that case that will conclude that item, and the process now is to the recommendation is here. And that is to recommend that the Sustainable Development Panel recommend that Cabinet and full Council agree to adopt the revised PBSA supplementary planning document, and that is we vote on that. So all those in favor? Okay, thank you very much. And that moves us on to item 7. Yeah, okay, thank you. Hey, welcome back to Council of Laws. Item number 7 is review of the Norfolk Strategic Planning Framework. And again, Mike, to introduce the report, please. Oh, Councillor Giles, beg your
Thank
pardon.
you. And
Thank
I
you.
apologise for not introducing the PBSA item. I wasn't expecting to be here, but was here in short notice. So thank you to Mike and Naya for covering that. So the Norfolk Strategic Planning Member Forum and the Greater Norwich Local Development Partnership have approved the revised Norfolk Strategic Planning Framework, subject to ratification processes within individual local authorities, and we bring the NSPF here today for comment and questions ahead of it going to Cabinet in September. The framework is a requirement to meet our duty to cooperate as planning authorities. When assessing the soundness of a local plan, the planning inspector's first step is to assess whether the relevant authority / authorities, in our case, are complying with their duty to cooperate. A number of local authorities, it should be recognised, have failed this step nationally in recent months in relation to their local plans. The NSPF is managed by a jointly funded project manager based here at the City Council. All Norfolk local authorities contribute £10,000 per annum towards the NSPF, and that covers programme manager's salary costs and the evidence studies which are required for the framework. The primary revisions being made to the NSPF at this moment in time are as follows. A review of the vision and the objectives and the agreements, which includes removal of some agreements which have been completed or are considered no longer relevant. A full review of all sections to ensure all information is correct and up to date. A full review of the economic information in light of Norfolk County Council's new economic strategy, replacing the previous strategies of the local enterprise partnership. Updates to the infrastructure section to take account of new information, including new plans Anglian Water have, the Water Resources East plan, new flood risk data, the new Norfolk Strategic Infrastructure Delivery Plan, the updated GIRAMS action plan, which is the Green Infrastructure and Recreational Avoidance Mitigation Strategy, and biodiversity net gain and the local nature recovery strategies which are emerging. There's a new section created to cover nutrient neutrality. And a key thing to note is the updated NSPF reflects the new standard methodology for calculating housing need over the local plan period. So the new, and worth noting for members, the new standard methodology for calculating housing need means there is a 48% increase in our housing target for Norfolk and 34% for Greater Norwich. That's on top of what we've already allocated under the Greater Norwich local plan. Appendix 1 to the report sets out in summary how the changes to the NSPF will impact Norwich. I appreciate it's a lengthy document, so I would recommend a thorough read of pages 2 to 7, which summarise all of the agreements in the NSPF. I would also draw colleagues' attention to the proposed spatial vision for Norwich as set out under Agreement 2 on pages to 13 to 14. I will just read out the vision statement if I may. So the vision statement is as follows. By the middle of the 21st century, Norfolk will be increasingly recognised nationally for having a strong and vibrant economy, providing high quality economic opportunities for residents in urban and rural areas. Its settlements and key infrastructure will be physically resilient to the impacts of climate change. The natural, built and historic environments will be enhanced through the regeneration of settlements, safeguarding and enhancement of current assets and networks, improving both biodiversity and the quality of life and health for residents. Housing needs will be met in full in socially inclusive communities. The county will be better connected by having good transport links to major cities in the UK and Europe and excellent digital connectivity. A good relationship between homes and jobs will help minimise the need to travel and residents will have choice about how they meet their demand for local travel and all of the agreements below sit below this vision. I would lastly draw colleagues' attention to the summary of the proposed shared objectives as set out under Agreement 3 on pages 14 to 16 of the NSPF, pages 152 to 154 of your pack. And these, I won't read this out in detail because you've had an opportunity to read the report, but these come under the subheadings of realising the economic potential of Norfolk and its people, to reduce Norfolk's greenhouse gas emissions and improve air quality, as well as reducing the impact from, exposure to and effects of climate change. Thirdly, to address housing needs. Fourthly, to improve the quality of life and health for all the population. And lastly, to improve and conserve Norfolk's rich and biodiverse environment. And those pages of the report summarise the proposed shared objectives under which much of the report sets out in much greater detail. Also, we would welcome thoughts and comments ahead of the NSPF going to Cabinet in September. The scope is obviously huge, so I can't guarantee a technical answer to every question, but we'll try our best.
Okay, thank you. Any officers would like to?
Could I just add a couple of points to that? Very good summary. I think the districts in Norfolk and the County Council, we should congratulate ourselves on long-term strategic cooperation. We have worked well together. Councillor Giles referred to some other parts of the country that have been unsuccessful, most notably in recent years, Oxford, Bournemouth, Christchurch, Poole, Shropshire, where they submit their plan for examination, but they fail at the first hurdle, which is the duty to cooperate. If you haven't cooperated effectively, especially on housing numbers are always the sticking point in many areas, the inspector will fail you. This has been a very positive mechanism by which we have agreed over the years to address the many issues we face. We've worked very hard together on water issues, nutrient neutrality issues, and so on. And secondly, I'd like to make the point that the Norfolk Strategic Planning Framework puts us in a very good place for the new spatial development strategies that will be coming in under the combined mayoral authority that we're likely to have in a few years' time. This is a sort of strategic level planning we haven't had for the last 15 years nationally, is now being reintroduced. We have done a form of strategic planning within Norfolk and it's paid dividends. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I saw Councillor Giles as well, please.
I did just want to add, because Mike is too modest, that the planning team just won an award at the Royal Town Planning Institute, East of England Awards for Best Local Plan for Greater Norwich. So I'm sure we'd all like to congratulate the team on all their fantastic hard work and dedication.
Yes, thank you, Mike. Yes, I did see that in the news, and that's a brilliant award. So for this particular document, just to cover it again, this is the same document that is shared amongst all the districts in Norfolk
and the county and the Broads
and
Authority.
county, and at this stage there is agreement amongst all those districts and county at the moment, and the relevant authorities.
Yes, this is the fourth version of the document, so we've been updating it over time as things change. For example, nutrient neutrality is an example of something that's come in that's required us to change. The new national planning policy framework with the higher housing numbers meant we've had to update it, amend and update it. But yes, it's shared objectives for the county as a whole that inform our local plans. So we've made a shared agreement and we include these shared approaches in our local plans. A very good example, water efficiency. We led the way on that in Greater Norwich 15 years ago. Now it's shared across Norwich and across the whole of Eastern England. We require the most water efficient development we're allowed to by government. So it's yeah, it's a very good way of sharing good practice, and most critically ensuring that we're cooperating on those key strategic issues such as water, for example.
Okay, thank you very much. That's a good place to start our discussion. Councillor Hockney, please.
Thank you, and thank you for all the work that has gone into this. I've got a question about page 130.13. You've kind of referenced local government reorganization and devolution already. I'm just wondering what the is, but it says here updating the NSPF now is also timely because it could inform the content of a future spatial development strategy. So that is then within the gift of the mayor to decide whether they want to use this as a template, or is there anything more definite about the future that we know?
It will be within the gift of the new mayoral combined authority, but we do have this current duty to cooperate now in advance of that, and we can't wait for the mayoral combined authority. We have to comply legally up to then. We think by doing significant preparatory work, providing an evidence study to inform that spatial development strategy, that's our best approach to influence the content of that strategy and to provide the strongest evidence base possible while we have this local government that is most close to place.
Okay, thank you. Does that answer your question? Okay, thank you. Councillor Lubbock.
Are we going to congratulations, first of all. It's really good to hear that. I mean, why haven't we heard it before?
We did put, it went out on the local.
It went out where?
I'm not sure. I did send it to the press people, and
Oh, right. It's the first I've heard.
I think it was on an internal circular, wasn't it? So yes, so we have
trophy upstairs.
Oh yeah, and then I'll look at the trophy. Are we going to continue updating?
That's a very good question. We don't know yet. It depends on how long it takes for the combined mayoral authority to be established, first of all, then how quickly they get on with producing a spatial development strategy. There may be a need for, I would anticipate, one more update at most, because as Councillor Giles says, we still have the duty to cooperate. So the current local, the review of the local plan we're just now starting on, that will be subject to the duty to cooperate unless there's changes in legislation we don't yet know about. But as we currently stand, we will have to comply with the duty to cooperate. So this will be important, critical for that. And it's currently being used, for example, colleagues in Breckland, they're going to submit a plan fairly soon. So they'll be using it. Great Yarmouth are using it. North Norfolk are using it. We will use it for our review of the Greater Norwich local plan.
Yeah, and to go on, I mean, where does this sit with the local government review?
So it's not part of the local government review, but the fact that we are cooperating means that, I think as Councillor Giles said, on devolution local government review, we have been working well together.
Yeah.
So I think that it puts us in a good place for the future.
But what I'm getting at is, will this document still be relevant when we have a unitary, whatever the unitary, whatever the unitaries are, it will still be relevant.
The spatial development strategy produced by the mayoral combined authority will supersede it, but obviously they won't be in place for some time, and then there will be a period of time when they produce it.
So it will be for the time being until something else is produced, but it won't be produced by us. It will be the mayoral authority that produces it, but this is the basis, I expect. And then, yeah, it'll be completely different, wouldn't it? Yeah, because it will be the whole of Norfolk and Suffolk. Just they're thinking about.
Trying to think about timescales. If the combined mayoral authority were established in 2026, the government anticipates that a spatial development strategy would take 2 years to produce. I think that's somewhat hopeful. So let's say 2029 at the earliest. So more than likely, this will still be relevant for the Greater Norwich Local Plan, which should be adopted around that point. But as we've said, it's a very good lead in to this spatial development strategy. These key strategic issues are currently done in a more informal manner. The spatial development strategy will take us back to what we had before of a more formal sub-regional strategy. If you remember, we had structure plans, then we had the regional spatial strategy, and that was that ceased to be adopted in 2011 or 2010 or 2011, I think.
Okay, thank you. So in terms of how that will work as the local authority changes, is it assumed then that however many local authorities there are, unitary authorities they adopt this automatically until such a time as it's surpassed?
I assume we will have to have some sort of transitional arrangements. So one can only assume that it will be carried forward. If it's not, we'd have to consider how to make that happen, assuming it's still relevant, which I'm 95% sure it will.
It sounds like for 4 years or perhaps more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Any other questions on the documents, please? Councillor Padder.
Thank you very much. It's very comprehensive. I just wonder, so I've got quite considerable comments to make on some of the items, particularly because it relates to my experience. So I think on the climate change one particularly, I was wondering if you'd be looking at climate justice. I think that's probably something which will become more of an issue as we deal with the climate change. I also wondered a little bit about the evidence base for linking the social indicators, so health inequalities, social cohesion, and how those link across to some of the economic principles that you've been talking about. Yeah, I think that there's quite a lot in there. So I guess, like, I wonder, you know, that how we can measure some of the indicators and some of the plans around that going forward. I think it will provide a very good blueprint for, you know, the MCCA. So I think it's good I think it'd be positive to try and solidify some of the thoughts and the evidence base around some of the material being generated. Thank you.
Thank you. I think the way that can be incorporated, this is very high level strategic. When we get going on the review of the Greater Norwich Local Plan that we have just committed to, so we'll, within perhaps a year, we'll be bringing back papers to you about the emerging Greater Norwich Local Plan. I think that's when the sort of comments you're making now, we can embed them in the local plan.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions? My own question was quite narrow, partly because I thought I was going to be sitting elsewhere, but I'd just like to know how neighbourhood forums like Norwich over the Wensum Neighbourhood Forum, which I've just been introduced to recently, are being factored into the NSPF process. And now that this plan is nearly at Regulation 14 stage, what steps are being taken to make sure it's recognised and integrated into the Greater Norwich Local Plan review and wider strategic planning? And would officers consider the inclusion of a mechanism in the future for the NSPF updates to flag and support neighbourhood plans that are approaching formal consultation, please?
Okay. I have every confidence that the officers that from our team have been working with the Neighbourhood Planning Forum have informed them about the NSPF. I'm sure they have. Judith has just retired. She was leading on that, and without having looked at the minutes of the meetings, I'm sure that has been done. So they should be aware of this. So in the same way that this provides shared agreements for local plans, it provides shared agreements that should be taken account of in neighbourhood plans. Now there is more of a distance between neighbourhood plan and this plan, the NSPF, because it's very strategic. Neighbourhood plan is by its nature much more local, but still there are issues that I'm sure have been taken account of.
Okay, thank you. I think the question is really more about what support really we can provide them through this document or through this this
Well,
process. This
support we
strategy.
provide is by officers having regular meetings with them.
Okay. Yeah, please, Councillor Abbott.
I did just see that on page 153 under to improve the quality of life and health for all the population of Norfolk by, and the last bullet point is increasing community involvement in the development process at the local level. I mean, is that what you've been talking about, sort of local neighbourhood plans, or is it some sort of, I don't know, forum or something, but what does it actually mean? Community involvement in the development process at the local level.
Mike, do you want to answer that for us, please?
Yeah, so I think that's engagement in local plans, people getting involved in local plans, people getting involved in planning applications.
Just say increasing.
Increasing. Yeah. So we need to make those processes better, and we can do that through more digital approaches. That's something we have started to do. So the Get Talking Norwich is a good example of how we've started to do that recently, and it has had a dramatic effect. And number of people responding to the SPD. It was a big increase in the sort of responses we used to get from the general public. So I think it's about using technology as much as we can to engage people more. My personal view is the days of going to village halls for 3 hours in the afternoon where 2 people turn up, that wasn't very effective engagement.
Okay, thank you. Just as a follow-up, I've got Councillor Hockner in a moment. Just as a follow-up to that, one of my supplementaries was relating to the grassroots community planning, which is basically what the Norwich over the Wensum neighbourhood forum is. I just wondered how the council will ensure their work is respected and meaningfully reflected in the Greater Norwich Local Plan and the NSPF, please. Especially when such plans are in the late stage, because they're very, very close to submission.
Yeah, so those plans have the same status as local plan policy when they're adopted.
Yeah.
So any plan application you have that comes in the northern city centre, the neighbourhood plan policies when adopted will have the same status as a local plan policy, so have to be taken account of when making decisions. So that's really quite strong.
And they will therefore form informed decision makers in planning committee.
Yes.
With material considerations.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Councillor Hockner, please.
Thank you, Chair. It's really great to see that climate change has its own chapter, and that it is agreed that it's an urgent strategic cross-boundary issue, which will be addressed at the heart of local plans. So that's really great. I was just wondering why the biodiversity emergency and kind of the crisis of mass extinction isn't given the same attention at the same kind of headline level. And nature seems to appear mostly as green infrastructures. I'm just a bit worried about us missing that.
Okay, thank you. Michael.
I mean, if you look at the bottom of page 153, top of 154, it provides the headlines in relation to the NSPF's provisions and with regards to improving and conserving our biodiversity.
Okay.
biodiversity is a key element of many of the agreements. I accept that the significance of the crisis could have been directly addressed. I don't know why it wasn't in those in the statements. Nevertheless, there are very clear statements in there that local plans must promote improvements in biodiversity.
Okay, thank you. Any follow-ups to that? Does that answer your question? Okay. Please do, Councillor Champion.
I was going to turn my attention to education. Lost it now. Sorry, on page 112. I was just having I've had some conversations. They claimed that they had no input whatsoever in building that school prior to which they had used over for the city. The school itself is not sustainable. I'm going to say that. A poorly designed school. In fact, I would suggest all of the new schools built by the previous government all lack a sustainable criteria, which I would hope. We have schools in the Greater Norwich area, like Norwich Open School, which won awards for its sustainability because it's all built in timber and meant to be brilliant. But actually is so poorly designed that many of the rooms can't be used in the day if it gets so hot. We're losing schools across the county at the moment right now. Actually, demographic. A lot of that's addressed in here. Talking about the new schools that are going to be built, the possibility of a new high school in Norwich. I guess I just want assurance that if we're going to be, I want assurance that the schools that we're going to be planning to build, given that we are a sustainable development capital, that they will be the highest level of sustainability, and that if we're talking about community engagement, community will be involved, and that they won't fall short of the current issues, or the previous issues, which the most recent stints of school built. I'm also curious about how these numbers have been ascertained, given that we have multiple, currently have 3 schools, we've got academies, and many of these schools are not at capacity and don't fall under the county council's agreement. So I'm just curious. I just felt that that area, given that this is a high-level strategic document, I was just curious. I felt that that lacked detail, and I was wondering where I would find further detail on that. I assume there's probably other documents.
Yeah, no, I would suggest you pointed out this as a high-level strategic document that guides local plans. I would suggest that you ask the chair to write to Norfolk County Council, the Education Authority, to address your concerns, to raise your concerns first of all, and see how they can be addressed, because this sort of document wouldn't go into that amount of detail. This document is about agreeing that we do provide a strategically planned education provision. It won't go into that detail. Nevertheless, the points you raise are very important.
It looks like Norfolk County Council have a school sufficiency plan to determine capacity. So I don't know if that's published publicly. I don't know.
Yeah, they have a team whose job it is to identify what school place provision is required, where and when. So there are people who do this job, but so you've raised one question about numbers, but also you raised a question about design and so on. I think there's 2 different issues there.
Would you be happy to send a letter to the county chair?
Yes, if that's what the committee wants me to do, then I would be happy to do that, and if that's recommended by officers as well. Yeah, do we need to have a vote on that?
You can add it as part of your recommendation at the end of the discussion, Chair, if you want, if that's proposed and seconded.
Yes, okay. Thank you. And on one of those points, clearly numbers for schools are calculated by local authorities. The quality of the design and environmental impacts of buildings are a bit more determined by central government. So I think we probably have to rely to some extent on changes in central government to strengthen our planning guidance. But correct me if I'm wrong, Mike.
I think that when you're assessing a planning application that's come in, you will have to use the building regs and so on. Yes, that's true. But it's open to any developer to build to standards that are above those building regs.
Yes. Okay.
Just a comment, but up to now, we haven't had any say, have we, on what the quality of the design or the environmental factors in a school, because it's always been county that deal with that.
Indeed, it's not been
And
a
so,
city council function.
Improving local people, improving local communities' input is very much in need there.
Yes, and those decisions may change as a result of the new authority set up. Okay, thank you. Any more questions or comments?
Thank you, Mike. I think that's quite a timely comment because, as I understand it, the Hewitt School is in a national programme for redesign, so it might be advisable to do this sooner rather than later.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? So we move to the recommendation, which...
Can I just go back a bit? There was a bit about the water. Water. Where's water? Here it is. It comes out of Anglia Water's concerns about water efficiency, and it's on page 206 of 240 pages, and it's the Agreement 19. Norfolk is identified as an area of serious water stress. And Norfolk planning authorities have agreed that when preparing local plans to seek to include the optional higher water efficiency standard. Well, are we actually going to see that sort of come through in the applications that come before the City Council Planning Committee? I mean, there's a number of things that it said it could include, which is water reuse. New developments include stormwater and rainwater harvesting. I don't think at the moment that's in that happens in developments. I haven't seen a new house with a water butt. They don't do it. They just don't do it. I mean, look at all the houses in South Norfolk as you go out on the A11. They're boxes, but there's no water butts. And you think, well, are they under the ground somewhere? But there's no water butts. And what's our problem at the moment? Runoff. And water deficiency, and it just seems that this is such a mismatch with what actually goes on. It all sounds very nice, but it just doesn't happen at the moment. I mean, grey water recycling in a new house, I don't think.
Okay, thank you. Yeah,
you've picked on my favourite subject as well. Then you've picked on my favourite subject as well. I've been campaigning for this for years. So, we can and do set this higher optional water efficiency standard through the building regs. We have done that for many, many years in Norwich, in Greater Norwich, and now all over Norfolk. But that is the maximum the government has allowed us to set. So that is 110 litres per person per day. Now, there's a lot of discussions, including from Anglian Water, from the Environment Agency, from Natural England, as a new document that's been produced, saying that's not good enough in parts of the country like the east of England, where we have very scarce water resources. We need to have more demanding standards. And new local plans, the Broads Authority, their local plan is looking to set a more demanding standard, 85 to 90 litres per person per day. Okay. I think Norwich City Council should be supportive of that. But also, when we come to do our local plan, we should do the same as well. And it's when you get down to those sort of levels of efficiency, that's where grey water recycling could be one of the solutions. Now, we at Norwich City Council with Broad and South Norfolk in 2011, leading the country, leading the way, established those standards for developments of 500 homes or more. In 2015, Eric Pickles said you can't do that. There's no reason to have high water efficiency standards. You don't need them. We lost 15 years through that. So we're back to where we were 15 years ago. We're not quite back there yet, but we're getting towards it. So yes, I feel aggrieved myself.
Okay, thank you. And my recollection of previous planning committees is this is something that Councillor Lubbock has brought up in the past on a number of occasions. Okay.
It's such a basic thing, to collect your rainwater off your roof. Doesn't cost much, but we just don't do it.
On very large developments, you can do a lot more than just collecting rainwater off your roof. You can recycle that water effectively.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Unless there's anything else anyone like to bring up or comment on, I think we'll draw that item to a close. So I'm inviting members of the committee to ask questions. Have we done that? Recommendation in the report. Sustainable Development Panel to recommend that Cabinet request Council endorses the reviewed Norfolk Strategic Planning Framework and remains a signatory to the framework. And on top of that, there's a suggestion that I as chair should write to the relevant authority about development of schools, the wording of which I will ask officers to help me with, unless we need to do that now.
Thank you, Chair. So we can put in something to the effect of that the committee resolved to ask the chair of the sustainability system, the panel, to write to the relevant authority regarding schools design. Is it schools design? Was it specifically?
Councillor Champion.
It would be with that in relation to their design and sustainability in the face of climate change and enhanced biodiversity within their premises.
Yep. So we can ask for them to provide information to the council and officers, and then that could be relayed back to yourselves.
Okay, thank you. So we'll have a vote on that altogether. So everyone in favour? Again, that is unanimous, please. Thank you. So I believe that draws us to the end of the meeting. I'll close the meeting there. With thanks to everyone for your attendance, and especially to officers for the incredibly detailed responses